Well, welcome to the inaugural session of AgencyWISE, your gateway to success. Brought to you from Big I, Oklahoma Consulting. We're excited that you've joined us today and hope you'll plan to join us each month on the second Thursday at 10:30 Central for a thoughtfully assembled wealth of insights, expert knowledge, and resources to enable and empower you as an agency owner to overcome many of the agency management challenges we know you face and learn how to grow your organization to the next level of success. I'm Sarah Bradshaw Ray, your Agency Wise host. Our guest today isn't really a guest at all. Denise Johnson is the president and CEO of Big I, Oklahoma, now closing in on her 9th year at the helm of the Oklahoma State Independent Insurance Agents Association. Denise and I actually have talked about doing something like this for years, and we finally decided that the time was right to give Agency Wise a little daylight. Our goal with this monthly webcast is, as I mentioned before, to address many of the challenges we know our members have and those of our sister state associations who are a part of our webcast today. By the way, thanks Big I, Nebraska for being the first state association to join us in sharing this webcast with your members. But before we get to the meat of our discussion, I want you to know a little bit about Denise, the person, and hear a little bit of the path that has brought her here with us today. So Denise, share with our crew a little bit about your journey to becoming the president and CEO at Big I, Oklahoma.
Well, hey, Sarah, I am beyond excited about this. I mean, I kind of laugh that we're doing a whole production when we talk like this probably every single day. So it's kind of fun to get to do it formally and get to talk a little bit about the industry that we both grew up in and loved. So my path is interesting, but not unlike a lot of people's path, is that my dad was an insurance agent. He started his agency in 1964. So I was a second generation insurance person. But the funny thing is that all through, like when I was living at home and school, my dad had been in the insurance agency, and I was very careful to say, I am not going into the insurance business. I'm not going to
Me
do
too.
it. Yes, exactly. And so here, who has the last laugh on us? Our fathers.
Absolutely.
And really the plan was my brother, like it was like the son can go into the insurance industry, and then I got a degree in not anything not insurance. That was literally how it was. So then we kind of fast forward and life happened, and I ended up with 3 daughters. And my parents had a little agency up in Piedmont, Oklahoma, and they needed help with the computer. We need help with the computer. And went up there to help them with the computer, and very quickly kind of caught the bug. It was no joke, a light bulb moment. You probably felt the same way. Is that you're standing there in the agency and you start realizing, wait, you have a policy, then you renew the policy, and then you get new policies, and you get to keep renewing the policies. I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. And with 3 kids and that needed ballet lessons and shoes and everything else, it was kind of the perfect storm. It was really, really great. So we started out doing that. It gave me the flexibility for my family. That was really important, as we all need. And as I was with the agency, my dad encouraged me to get involved in the local association, which I did. And I served on the board of the local Oklahoma City Association, and then moved up to the state board, which was really a cool experience. Sarah and I just missed each other. She was out by the time I got to walk in. We were kind of on weirdly different paths, but kind of parallel in everything that we did. So I started serving on the state board, and oddly, it's so funny because my CSR at the time, Dana, said, what are you doing serving on another board? You don't have time to be the president, because historically I have this incredible ability to become president of every single thing I do. I don't know, it's probably disease. I don't know. And I said, "Oh my gosh, they're not going to let me be president. They don't let women be president of that association. It started in 1907." And she goes, "I'll believe it when I see it." So, fast forward to, as we know, 2010, and I was chairman of this association. So, the first woman in 103 years. It was really, really cool. It was a great experience. I ended up just serving. I would still call all of those guys that were on that board with me still my very good friends, and taught me a lot about the insurance industry. And I just started moving right up through kind of leadership again and became the national director. So I served on the IIABA National Board of Directors, where there were five women out of 51 positions on that board. So very, very small, but it was probably a good experience for me. And then in 2013, the CEO that was CEO of this organization, Dan Ramsey at the time, decided to retire. And my very good friends, Susan Titus and Bill Liverman, called and they were like, "You need to do this." And I was like, "I do not need to do that." Sarah, and I remember you called me too and said the same thing. And I was like,
Never.
I was like, "No, no, no, I got a good deal. I'm working in the family agency. We're just rocking and rolling along. It's so great." But the long and short of it is that sometimes when you do a job or it's something that you're involved in that you really, really like, it becomes a calling. It becomes bigger than that. And my brother and I were in business together at the time. My dad had just retired, and he and I sat down and had a really long talk. And he finally said, "Look, I don't know why we would go down this path," but he goes, "I can't think of anything that would fit you any better than that position." And I remember thinking, "I don't know, I can't imagine," but it really has been a good fit. So in 2014, I became the president and CEO, and so I'm in my ninth year. It'll be 10 years in June, which just seems crazy. And it's probably been one of the greatest rides of my life. I've learned to love the industry. I've learned to respect a lot of people that I didn't even know, or I wouldn't have even had the opportunity to know. So it's been really, really nice. We've grown the association over 10 years. We've grown the balance sheet. We've grown it. Membership is hard right now because we have a lot of mergers and acquisitions and all that. So we have to figure out ways that we're providing more for our members. It's not the same association I started out with in 2014. So, we have to be nimble and we have to change. So that's what we've done. But I consider it a highlight of my life. And then I get to work with you and I get to work with our staff. And man, I'm sort of thinking I might be the luckiest person. So it's been a great ride. I have a great board. It's great. It's wonderful.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
such amazing peers, across the state. I mean,
Oh,
the
yeah.
the the country, who
Yes.
are serving other state associations
Yes.
as well. Well,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so that's your professional path,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
I have a very important question to ask you.
Okay. Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
So, when you go to parties or meetings and they have those silly icebreakers,
Yeah.
where you have to share a truth or a lie. What do you say?
Oh my goodness. Well, so if I'm not in the industry, people think it's funny. They don't believe that I'm actually in the industry. So that's the great side of that one. So let's go with, if you're in the industry. Um, let's do this. I'm a certified yoga instructor with over 2,000 hours of classes under my belt, and I teach on a regular basis.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right, audience. So,
Okay.
certified yoga instructor,
Right.
2,000 hours, teach on a regular basis. What kind of yoga while our online audience is
Uh,
kind of marinating on this, what kind of
Asana,
yoga?
asana.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. All
do a lot
right.
of well-being.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't
Well, I
see a
see a
truth.
truth.
Chris.
Okay. What else? No.
Ah!
No
Yeah.
way.
No way.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I've seen 2 truths and a
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, how funny.
Not sure. Yeah,
Not
that's funny.
sure. Okay. All right.
That's funny.
Well, okay. I probably should have been making a note here, but
Yeah.
oh,
We're
it's still
we're still
coming in.
coming.
My
Yeah.
goodness. Um, I kind of feel like the audience is saying that this is true, that you are
Yeah.
in fact some high-powered yoga instructor.
High powered.
So, okay, so
Do
so
those words go together? High powered yoga instructor.
I guess not really.
No. Not no.
Okay.
No, no, no.
So, totally zen, awesome, completely grounded yoga instructor. So, okay, so what is it? Truth or a lie?
So it's kind of a lie and it's kind of a truth. So this past year, I actually have spent the last 10 months in a yoga certification program. And I wanted something completely different out of my comfort zone. And I can absolutely tell you, sitting in a room with 30 people once a month that are involved in getting yoga certification is not the same as sitting in a giant conference with a bunch of insurance professionals. It's a very different, it's very, very different. So I decided to do it, as you know, a couple of reasons. I started to do it because I wanted something different and outside my scope of normal. I needed something completely different. I kind of sometimes we need to be out of our comfort zone and listen to, different people, the way they talk, the way they learn, all of that. So part of it was that. Part of it, and then too, it was part of my health journey where I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2020 and went through 11 months of treatment. And I just decided whatever I needed to do, I needed to be moving. And I'm not a jogger, I'm not a runner, I'm not anything cool like all the big athletes. I don't climb mountains or climb rocks. I don't do any of that. But I did decide that that was something that would keep me moving and keep me healthy. And it's worked with me. And so part of the certification will be just so I know a little bit deeper. Ah, nice. So it'd be a little bit neat, deeper in what I can do, and then how do I inspire other people. So so I don't know. So I have groups that I do practice on. They haven't asked me at staff. They're like, can we do like a Wednesday morning yoga something? So I may do that. So
I think that would be a ton of fun.
it would be a ton of fun, and I will say this, it's probably saved my life. It really has, because it's given me something that, it's given me some tools that are very different from what you have in a lot of leadership things that you do. So I've really, really enjoyed it. So it's kind of a truth. It's actually a 200-hour program, so I'll have 200 hours under my belt, but I've probably attended over, they say in yoga, you are still a beginner for 10 years.
Wow.
So I've been
Wow.
doing yoga for almost 10 years, so I'm still considered a beginner. So,
Wow.
that's good for all of us to know,
It
don't you think?
is. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. It's been
Absolutely.
kind of
All
fun.
right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for playing along.
Sure.
We want these, I mean, the thing is, we want these shows to be informative, but we
Yeah.
want them to be fun too.
Yeah.
So
And aren't
thanks for
people
helping us.
real? Like, aren't people
Absolutely.
real? Like, they don't just sit in their little insurance cubes and not do
No,
anything else. I mean, part
no.
of they have to have lives when they leave and go home. I love hearing what other people do. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's been really good.
All right. Well, thanks for helping us lighten that load
Mhm.
before we jump into the hard stuff today. Yes,
Ah, yeah.
pun
Hard,
intended, the
hard,
hard
hard,
stuff.
hard, hard. Yeah.
So, our insurance industry has a term that has been creeping into our
Mhm.
conversations for
Mm.
the last several months, perhaps even longer. And
Mhm.
that's the word, or the phrase, the hard market. Now,
Yes.
many consumers and those who are new to our industry actually may not know that this term means that we see premiums rising while coverage becomes scarce.
Mhm.
So, in today's episode, we're focused on two big questions. What makes this hard market hard? And
Mhm.
how do we navigate this crazy situation so
Mhm.
that we don't just survive and get through, but
Right.
we really thrive
Mhm.
as we get through it. So, in for
Mhm.
just a few minutes, I want you to explain what's going on in the marketplace today and why is the hard market so hard, or what's going on?
So when I started in the insurance industry, and honestly, I didn't start until I was in my mid 30s because I waited and had my kids, and I stayed home with my kids and then got into it later. And so when I actually started in the late 90s, I actually started the business in a hard market and didn't even know what it was. I just was knew it was there, and it wasn't until I got the full breadth of it until it went to a soft market, and I was like, oh, this is exhausting in a whole different way. So now I will say now I've probably spent more time in the last 3 to 4 months at the state capitol talking about hard markets than ever before in my life. And it's been interesting is because we see it, everyone thinks it's all individual to them. So, a commercial, that owns a building, it's all just happening to me. A homeowner, this is all just happening to me. Schools, we're dealing a lot right now with school insurance. It's all just happening to the schools, and it's not. And it's not just happening in Oklahoma. It's happening nationwide, everywhere. Like everyone, you think that you have a horror story. Well, everyone can top whatever story that they have because it's happening in every single state, and it's a little bit of a different story in each state. We have storms here, so we had convected storms. The West Coast has wildfires, so I wouldn't want to be in California right now because companies are just pulling out. Florida has hurricanes and floods. They have one market right now in the homeowners business. But just so in Oklahoma, we are the third highest rated property premium in the United States. So we're behind, believe it or not, Florida and Louisiana, and then we're third. And so part of it has to do with convected storms. I mean, there's a lot of, unfortunately, I hate to say a perfect storm, but it's a perfect storm that's kind of landed on all of us for the market. So CBS Morning did a really, really great. We'll drop that in the chat later on because I think it's a really good. Oh yeah, that. Uh, we're going to put that. We're going to put that out there because this is such a great video of what is about. What's the hard market about? Not only in Oklahoma, very little it's about Oklahoma, but it's about nationwide. This is why this is happening, and they've done a great job on a national scale. And sometimes I think insurance companies take the brunt of it. Like, why are you just raising our premiums? Right. Well, it's becoming unaffordable for them. And I get it's becoming unaffordable for consumers, but that video does just such an incredibly great job, in talking about this is why it's happening. As you can imagine, um, the industry is having to figure out because more and more losses are being paid out and it's becoming more expensive. So we can talk too a little bit about, why premiums are rising. So uh, the costliest year for premiums was in 2017. Yeah, here's a few reasons. Deadly wildfires in California totaling 135 billion in insurance losses. Like 135
Wow.
billion. I know.
That's a B. A B.
It's a B. It's
Oh
a
my
B.
gosh.
Like it's so incredibly crazy. And then in 2022, it was the 8th year in a row with at least 10 catastrophes causing $1 billion in damage. The 8th year in a row. Over the past 5 years, we have an average of 18 $1 billion disaster events. So 18 of those, and each of them are at $1 billion. I sort of feel that billion number has just we've gotten used to saying it, so it doesn't sound as bad as it is, but that's not good. The natural disasters in 2020 to 2022 is 275 billion. It's the highest 3-year total ever in the United States. In the past year, we've endured 23 separate weather and climate disasters. It's led to $1 billion in damage, totaling 57 billion this year. Like the numbers are so staggering. So when you look at just the cost of all of those storms, how, as we know, insurance is just literally risk management. So if we're all putting money into a pot and then we have losses like that haven't been accounted for, that pot empties out really, really quick. It doesn't last very long. You know,
Meaning our premiums are going into a pot to pay those
right.
claims from. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where they are. So insurance companies are like, well, we all that money for claims, and how have they been able to, the hardest thing insurance companies I believe are running into right now is that how did they even project what those claims are going to be, because
Yeah.
they've just, it's gotten crazy. So, and then many of you know is that we've got caught up in inflation. You know, I have a couple of, I guess they're Gen Zs that work in the office, and so the word inflation is kind of new to them. So we've had a few discussions in the office about, of course, I grew up and was early married in the 80s, where we bought our first mortgage was like, it was like 12.25%. Like it was and we thought we got the greatest deal. It was something we bragged about. No joke. We
Yeah.
bragged about it.
Yeah.
It was so great. I remember when we finally got to, and it was on a balloon note. I don't know if you remember. So it would be like 12.25, but it would be on a balloon note every 3 to 5 years, and they'd reevaluate it, either go up or down. And our first refinance that we got was a flat interest rate. We got it for 8%, and I thought we hit the jackpot. I
Yeah.
I thought we had hit the jackpot. It's like, really? It's just going to stay at this for like forever?
How does that work?
I know. And then the last time we refinanced before we paid off our house, we got 5%. And I remember looking at my husband and going, it'll never get lower than that, ever. And of course, our
Golly.
kids bought it a whole lot lower than that. But anyway, so part of the problem that we're seeing right now with all of those losses is that we also have inflation that's in the middle of it. So I've lived through inflation. We saw it in gas, we saw it in products that we bought, we saw it at the grocery store. We've been through it, but we have a generation that hasn't been through it and they don't understand it. So you look at increased material costs. Try to get a contractor right now. Try.
Yeah.
And see how much fun that is to, get someone in here, and, whatever you think the amount's going to be, it's going to be higher. Labor costs are more expensive. Transportation costs, we know the cost of gas is higher, and the supply chain constraints. Like, think of all the times, oh, we can't get it. We had to do a remodel in the kitchen here at the office, and boy, part of the problem was just getting everything in here. That was probably the hard part of the whole thing. So inflation is huge. And then we have, in 2023, is $1 billion weather and climate disasters. I mean, just, we have a map that, oh, there it is. We have a map that just shows like the $1 billion disasters that are across the United States. Like, that is a lot for an insurance company to handle. I mean, that's just incredible. So, what do we do with that? So I actually was on a webinar with AM Best last week that was actually incredibly interesting. That tells you now I'm an insurance nerd and saying, Dad, I'm not going to be in the business. I'm like, now I'm right in the middle of it. So, but we talk about, frequency and the security of, what's weather going to be? How do we project it? The rising loss cost, severity. Holy cow. Like, think about our cars. Like, they're like little electronic computers with an engine driving around. If it's a car that's not a hybrid, or, if you get anything more than that, it's a high powered computer. The uncertainty of losses. I don't know how an insurance company can ever just project that. I do not know. It's becoming really, really hard. So, they're just having to figure it out. So whenever they have to offset for what the possible costs are going to be, what's the possible storm limits that are going to be, how do they figure out those losses, and how did they put that into a premium? So, so yeah, it's just such a tough market on what to do. I will say, AM Best, they kind of gave some historical data, but they gave some interesting data too, is that in commercial lines, we're seeing interest rates that are going to kind of remain the same, but I don't see them increasing a whole lot. They really feel that there's going to be some stability in that over the year. They're also concerned about loss cost severity. So what is that going to be with severity? My friends in Mississippi, so my peers that are there, they said, why are you sending all your tornadoes to us? And I go, don't worry, we got other stuff. We're okay. And then my
Yeah.
friends in Louisiana decided to develop black fog. So I was like, why'd you create a new weather event? Like, that
There you
doesn't
go.
even make sense. Yeah. AMBS always talked about the uncertainty over loss reserve adequacy. Do they have enough in their loss reserves to
Mhm.
even cover losses that are there? We work with the residual markets a lot, and I tell you what, a lot of markets are really struggling because they the losses, they've been very steady. They've been very, very comfortable where they've been. We've had so this is January. We've had since September, we've had 3 companies that have completely gone under and gone the guarantee fund,
Mhm.
because suddenly they were fine and then suddenly they weren't,
Yeah.
because it was all because of losses. So
Mm.
um,
Yeah. A lot of
in
stuff going
personal,
on.
yeah, personal lines, kind of the same. One of the things that we kind of don't talk about with personal lines, but is a big deal, is the rising cost of reinsurance. So there's
Mm.
a lot of small little mutual companies and those are the ones that generally have gone out of business in the last few months. But they're finding it more and more difficult to get reinsurance. And reinsurance is actually a pretty nimble organization. They're kind of interesting to watch, but they've had to decide if they're going to be in the bigger markets and not support those smaller ones. And so you see a lot of companies. I think it's going to be interesting the next 6 months to see what those smaller companies are going to do. I'm hearing rumors, January and February, as they start working on, reinsurance renewals and all of that, there may not be some. So
Mhm.
reinsurance are kind of stepping back, and what do we need to do, and what companies do we need to support? So we also
Mhm.
are seeing a higher catastrophic loss. I mean, there's just, all the losses are bigger. Our houses are more expensive. Our
Yeah.
buildings are more expensive. It does, tornadoes don't just hit, homeland or farmland. They
Mhm.
hit, towns and all of that. So it's gotten hard. The companies, I will say, I feel like they have really struggled to push for rate adequacy. So this is what we get all the pushback from. Even I've heard from, our insurance commissioner. And here in Oklahoma, we actually are right at about 125 companies that are writing insurance, and they're able to get rate for it. They've had to cut down a little bit on their coverages. But when we say we're still in a competitive market, that means we still have markets. Now, they may be high,
Yeah.
but we're not Florida that has one market and they can just say yes or no, and you could end up without coverage.
Right.
So,
Right.
so our commissioner has actually done a really, really good job working with our companies to keep those markets in the state. Now, they may be, I don't know what that means over the next year. Deductibles may get really, really high. They may step back about some of the coverages that they want to offer. They may, cut out some areas that they want to cover, but
Mhm.
they're still in the state and doing business. So kudos to our department, because I'm hearing a lot from other states that don't even have that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
positives. There's some positives of reinsurance. They understand the realignment of risk profiles. They're super nimble, so they'll watch something for a year and they can kind of quickly move and change. So I kind of like what they're doing. Some of the negative is that they have diminished investor appetite. That used to be a really
Mm.
great market to go into, was the reinsurance market with insurance.
Yeah.
And right now there is a lot of companies that are like, I don't want to be in the market anymore. And
Mm.
so suddenly that money, I used to call it free money, that's set up there is so much that's dipped into reinsurance that is becoming more and more. So you're seeing increased costs of that. Reinsurance is something, I mean, do you remember ever, like when we were in the height of our careers, like going to our clients and talking about reinsurance? I never
Never.
talked about them. Never.
No.
Like, I think of
No,
my little
no.
contractors, if I would have been like,
Yeah,
"Okay, let's talk about reinsurance," they would have been
their
like, "What are you
yeah,
talking about?"
their
Like,
eyes would roll back in their heads.
oh, they would
Absolutely.
definitely do that.
Yeah.
So
No, and to your point, I mean, there's so much that plays into
mhm,
what makes up this hard market, whether
mhm.
it is what our
Yep.
carriers are having to pay
Mhm,
to because
mhm.
reinsurance, y'all, is just insurance for insurance companies. And
Right,
so
good point,
so
yeah.
they've got weather-related issues,
Yeah.
we've got, increased costs of
Mhm.
construction, of cars, of assets that they're protecting, the uncertainty of those weather events, which makes everything kinda loosey-goosey. And the bottom line is, to your point, this market is here to stay for a
Yep.
little while
Mhm.
before it shifts back
Right.
in, another direction.
Mhm.
So tell me, what advice would you give agents about how to be a hard market hero for our clients? Because that's what our goal is, right?
Right. Yeah, no, that is the goal. I think that the basis of everything, sometimes we have to go back to the basis. I have joked, you've heard me say this at some of the talks that I've given at the legislature, is that I feel like I'm teaching a class on Insurance 101.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
as simple as it can be. Here's what insurance is, and here's what we can do. I do think that our agents have got to do like really concentrate on what information they give to the consumer. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's going back to that 101. If I was out in the market right now selling insurance, my conversation to every single client would be, here's insurance 101. Here's how much money is going out in, here's how much money is going out, and this is how we're paying for it. So how much do you want to adjust? How much can you insure for yourself?
Yeah.
But teach them about insurance. I I really feel insurance is complicated. It's really
Mhm.
hard for people to understand it. It looks like there's just, you write someone a check for $3,000 or $4,000 and it just seems to evaporate because no one really sees it
Yeah.
and they don't realize. So we have to do a better job at explaining to whoever it is, the
Yeah.
consumer. But I think our agents can go back very easily and just go down to that bottom line.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting. I think we have to tell our clients what the hard market is. I don't think we can
Mhm.
surprise them.
Yeah.
We used to have annual reviews with a lot of our clients. So you'd see them once a year. You might get a call in the middle of the year if they had a claim or something like that. But we weren't talking to them all the time. Well, now we do have technology, we
Mhm.
do have communication tools, but we have to get to the point that when we walk in with that renewal, it's not a shock because right now you're looking at renewals, whether it be personal or commercial, and anything from 20 to 40%, like it's nuts.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare them for that? And
Yeah.
so that way
Yeah.
that way they know. So we've got to do that.
Yeah, which in some regard means we have to prepare ourselves,
Mhm.
as agents, work with our staff, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
kind of resources are out there that are helping our agents weather this hard market? Be resources, be trusted advisors
Yes.
to our clients. What are you recommending?
Well, I mean, I love your trusted advisor. I always have this theory, and I actually had the same theory at the Capitol now. If anyone says the word insurance, if you're in a big group of people and someone says insurance, our hope is that I always say, I want them to look straight at me.
Yeah.
That's what we want because it's got to be that trusted advisor. Even with that incredible increase, they want to say, okay, I trust you know what you're doing. So
Yeah.
so this is what we're going to do.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
I love using trusted advisor because there's so much more to it. Sometimes we get put in with, other just, here's the sales guy. Well, we're not selling stuff at buy for less. We're literally just we're trying to sell a product that's going to protect them. I always say insurance is what makes us successful. That's why we get to live in
Mhm.
the houses that we live in. We
Mhm.
get to drive the nice cars that we live in. So you have to trust your largest assets to someone that understands it.
Yeah, and
So
peace of mind. Peace of mind
absolutely.
knowing that it's gonna be there at the
Absolutely.
level, the quality,
Yeah.
that you need it
Oh,
when the time
yeah,
comes.
nothing's
Yeah,
worse than having to go into your client and they don't have the coverage that they need to cover the
yeah,
claim.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
we have to do that. We're responsible
Yeah.
for a lot of what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of tools are out there for Big I members, both here in our state and
Mhm.
out in the country?
Well, so what we have for Big I members, which I think this is great. Trusted Choice has come out with a hard market guide,
Mhm.
and I love it. It's been very, very helpful to our agents. I hope that whenever they've been able to present to any of their clients, it has assisted them.
Mhm.
We try to find ways that we can. I've always said the simple version of what we do here at the Big I is to make our agencies better. How do we find ways to make our agencies better? This is a great tool to use. It's free to all of our members, and it gives you step by step. It gives you so much that you can get into, and we highly encourage everyone to take advantage of it. So many. I kind of was surprised because I kind of thought people would just jump all over it, and I feel like we've marketed it a lot, but this is something that people should take advantage of. So
'Cause it's got I mean, it's got great
it's
it's
great.
got, talking points, it's got templates
Yep.
for
Yep.
emails and,
Hmm.
frequently asked questions.
Hmm.
So we can use it with our staff,
Yes.
every what else? What are
Yeah.
you seeing
Well, also,
creative
I
folks doing?
Well, I also think that if I was an insurance agent right now, I would be consumer facing, like
Mhm,
even in this hard market guide or some of the things that we provide here at the Big
mhm.
I, Oklahoma, or national. You should get those net newsletter from now. I'd be on the consumer facing side of it. I would literally be putting things on social media.
Look what Nick says.
Oh,
How about
yes,
that?
that's what I would do. Yeah, that's exactly.
Nice.
I would have it on TikTok. I can't believe there's not more insurance stuff on TikTok. That would be really funny. But I would put it in even I know we say there's not local newspapers, but I still read my local newspaper or
Yeah,
I would put it on my Facebook, and I
absolutely.
it's fun to follow agents to see what they do to try to be more
Yeah,
consumer facing
yeah.
on that. And then our winter policy magazine that just came out just before Christmas, didn't it? Is it just
Yeah,
before
yeah, yeah,
Christmas?
yeah.
Okay, just
Mhm.
before Christmas, really has some great articles on hard market. You could take those and you could use them for your own social media. Oh yeah, got it in December. Okay.
All right, you're right.
So see how much I get it, but I look at it like a month before. So I
Yeah.
was behind
So it's like,
when did they get here?
when
Yeah,
did
it's
that
great.
come out? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh
I
gosh.
just do think we have to be on the offense more than we have
Yeah,
to be on the defense. And we're trying to provide all of our members with as much information as they possibly can.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I gotta say, the data that I've been seeing is truthfully kind of
Hmm.
alarming,
Yeah.
in terms of how the consumers are now responding, which is why I wanted to bring, this message with you because our like you just said, our agents have to figure out how to be on the offense, not the defense,
You
not
do.
responding when that premium increase arrives. I read a nationwide nationwide insurance survey. Don't you hate it when that
Yeah,
happens?
I know.
Um, but it said 26% of consumers are planning to decrease their coverage.
Hmm.
Another 23% are looking for a new agent, and 20%
Hmm.
will literally remove coverage in the next 6 months. But we know that that is not the right way to respond to this market. So I want you to speak real quickly just to that insurance buying consumer out there and tell them what your advice would be in terms of how to weather this marketplace.
Well, my advice would be, when we have dinner with our friends on Friday night, these are discussions we have because you can imagine I get bombarded like I control the entire insurance market across the United States of America. I love dinners with my friends.
Nice.
But I would encourage them to partner with their agent. Don't be afraid to call and ask questions. Be sure to get, I everyone's sending out, all kinds of newsletters. Look
Yeah.
and read, but be a partner with their agent.
Mhm,
Learn what they're trying to buy.
mhm,
Be open to ways that they can look at lowering their coverage limits. You may have to adjust that just a little bit. You may look at your deductible. What can you
mhm,
really put back for a deductible?
mhm.
I'm going to say something controversial. I feel like the insurance industry was a little bit late in adjusting deductibles because there for so long you had $500 deductibles that
Mhm.
I get it in 1989, but we were still in, 2010. We
Yeah.
were still like very low deductibles. The insurance industry was really slow to that. And so what does that need to be? So part of it's, you take on your own risk, but it saves you money in the long run.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a lot of telematic programs that are offered, and then
Mhm.
except the insurance.
Oh no.
Nope, you're good.
Are you
You're good. Yep.
okay? I think I just lost my headset.
Uh-oh.
I think what happened is that I think people are going to have to understand that insurance is for catastrophes,
Yeah.
not for just maintenance policies for
Yeah.
their house.
Yeah.
So gutter falls down, you have to
Mhm.
have your deductible high enough that you understand you got to fix your stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounds really
Yeah.
simple, but it really is true. That's not what insurance are
Yeah.
for.
Save it
And
save
be
it
a
for
good
the big stuff.
consumer because it
Yeah.
affects all of us.
Absolutely.
So if you and I are both consumers together and we have all of our money in the same pot, we want to be fair to each other. Well, that's what
Yeah.
insurance is.
Yeah. Yeah. So in addition to understanding the marketplace and what's going on, again, going back to being that trusted advisor.
Mhm.
So, be there when the bad stuff happens and
Yeah.
deliver on the promise that is insurance for the catastrophic
Yes.
event, not not the $1,000, plank on your fence that needs to be replaced or whatever.
Right.
And
Yeah,
probably,
it's really true.
yeah, absolutely. Well, as we get ready to close, I want to ask you, what advice do you have for that emerging professional who maybe might be new to the industry,
Mhm.
in keeping with our theme today, aspiring to be heroes in the marketplace? What would you say to that maybe it's that Gen Zer?
That, I do have a lot of young people that come in and they're like, how'd you get in the industry? And I said, well, I ran from it for a while. But here's what I would tell them is that we will never learn everything. So never stop learning. We have a lot of education programs here at the Big I of Oklahoma that they're continual. You can't get your license and say one is done. Same way that I decided to take, a 10-month yoga training class because we always have to be learning. We have to change. We have to know what's happening with people outside of our bubble. The biggest thing I see with so many people is that they've gotten really safe within their own little bubble and they're scared to get out of it. Well, never stop learning. If you're an agent, my favorite thing about being an agent is that I knew a little bit about a lot. So it was probably dangerous, but I could tell people about welding on an oil rig, or I could tell people how to run a restoration company. I knew just enough to kind of figure it all out. So you never stop learning. So that's why I always found it interesting, is because it wasn't tedious to me. It was something that was different all the time. I also would tell agents is that they've got to be client focused
Yeah.
no matter what. They have to consider their clients. They have to remember they're trying to run small businesses. And my line always to my clients was, you need a really good CPA, you need a really good attorney, and you need a really good insurance agent. And I'm part of that team as an insurance agent. So you have to be client focused because you're helping them take their business to the next level. You don't know how to sell widgets necessarily, but you need to make sure that you're going to enable your client to sell the widgets that need to be sold. So
Sure.
always keep their best interest in mind. Like they're number one. That's what it's all about. And then I would also tell them, always be on the offense. Like there is nothing worse, and it's happened to me. I've walked in for a renewal and it's like, I got a better quote, blah, blah, blah. And you are just out. Like always be on the offense. Never walk into the room unless you know exactly what's going to happen. And so it's because no one likes surprises. No one likes
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
scary. So be
Yeah.
on the offense, and especially in a market like this gives you a great time that you're able to say on a really huge scale, like, I am an expert in this. I know exactly what this is all about. So I would highly encourage anyone to take advantage of that. And that way then that business is going to depend on you for their financial future and their success. So
Sure.
it really is a team effort. So it really is fun to get to do that because they win, you win.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great advice. Yeah. Well, thank you for being with us today.
What? Is it over?
Can you believe it? As we've talked about how it's really an opportunity to be a hard market hero for our clients,
Mhm.
and what great resources are out there to help our members, to help us as agents communicate and be that trusted advisor to our clients in really kind of a crazy upside down marketplace. So
Yeah.
thank you for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Remember, if you'd like to share this webcast recording with your staff or others, you'll find it on our BIGiOK YouTube channel by the close of the day. We'd love to see you at our next episode on February the 8th, when our guest will be Steve Anderson. Many of you know Steve as one, if not the leading technology expert in the insurance industry today. Steve's the founder and CEO of Catalyst, an amazing organization that helps independent agents with all kinds of technological challenges and opportunities. So plan now to join us on the 8th of February. Like today, future episodes of AgencyWISE are strategically curated treasure troves of insights, expert knowledge, and resources to enable and empower you and your agency to grow to unprecedented heights. Now, that journey of agency success is ongoing, though. So our goal is to help you stay inspired and keep implementing those valuable insights. Until next time, keep thriving, agency-wise.